Hello friends! In the video we will talk about the year 2021, which comes after the exhausting 2020. The year 2020 we can understand as the year when the old system fell apart, and in 2021 humanity begins to create a new system in a spasm and through a great struggle. We will explain why there is this spasm and why the process does not go smoothly, but it goes, don't worry. So here we will talk about the effects of the celestial events on a mundane level, not about individual horoscopes. And if I have time, I will make one video, and it will be on YouTube, for each zodiac sign for the year 2021. I will try to do that. As I always repeat in my videos, I do not deal with classical astrology and I do not predict, although, of course, the analysis of astrological aspects necessarily implies some prediction. So in what sense? Well, we live in a model of spiral cycles. Therefore, events are repeated within a particular model. However, as a humanity, we are gradually moving into a new dimension of existence, which means that most of us vibrate now on a new frequency, and thus our relationship to reality will be different, and thus to the past and future also. It is a new state of consciousness that implies a new attitude towards time in general. Many will be able to understand what only mystics once knew, that the future is always in creation, the same as well as the past. Of course, all modern concepts of reality are available to all of us, and so proclaimed rulers of the world, they are also using the same energy as all of us, and they are now, for example, trying to change the past. One of the things that they do, they're trying to change the past, and they talk that Nazis were actually those who liberated the world in the Second World War, and those who were liberators, they call them attackers. Later in the time, when we arrive to the point where we need to be as a humanity, hopefully, everything this will be understood. But for now, there are many attempts of this kind. This is what I wanted to say here at the beginning of this video. There are many attempts to change the reality, the past and the future. So the new paradigm of reality is now being created, and old structures are trying to abuse it. This is the topic actually of this our video, and this I will mention this concept through this video a few times. Of course, I want to tell you that astrology, in my opinion, cannot say exactly what is going to happen, but can explain what is the meaning of that, what is happening. That's how we will talk about the year 21. And of course, astrology can offer the best possible way of integrating current transits. So let's see how we can integrate this, what we are going to have. So let's talk about that step by step. First of all, the most important thing that is going to happen in the year 21 will be transit of Saturn and Jupiter through the sign of Aquarius. Jupiter will briefly stay also in the sign of Pisces. In the year 21, Neptune will still be in Pisces, Pluto still in Capricorn, Uranus still in Taurus. Eclipses will occur in May and June, one series, and then another in November and December. During the summer is going to be very nice conjunction of Venus and Mars in the sign of Leo, which is the sign of love and creativity. That's fantastic. And Mercury will be retrograde this year 3 times, in February, June, and October, each time in the air sign, and by this will be emphasized communication exchange of news, of information, interpersonal relationship, and so on. So we need to be connected. This is very important here, to be connected and to share information. The year begins after the great conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn at 0 degree of Aquarius, which occurred in December 2020. And we spoke about that in December. Thus begin a series of their encounters in the sign of Aquarius, which means that they will no longer meet in the sign of Capricorn for the next 300 years. As you most probably know, in the 2020, Pluto was in Capricorn, and the rule with Pluto is that where Pluto passes, everything ends there. And life is still later on possible, only in a new form. This is like with the grass. The grass dies in the winter, and in spring there is new grass. The old grass cannot grow again. So what is most difficult to break and what is most conservative in a man and in society was broken, and that's represented by the sign of Capricorn. The sign of Capricorn is the sign of strongest structures in society. It represents government, law, and tradition. And of course, this is a normal process that happens occasionally in the world. Just now we have problem as usually, people have must be the same problem always, that the old governing structures do not want to leave, but they want to transform themselves in accordance with the new energy we mentioned and stay where they were until now. So very dangerous game is going on. There are many astrological indicators that show that they enthroned in the second half of the 18th century, in this form as we know them now, perhaps in the year 1771. And here I want to warn, despite many significant events in the 2020 and 2021, that so-called rulers of the world will not completely leave the position until the 2024, when Pluto will definitely enter the sign of Aquarius. And that's the key actually, because they're hurry to robotize people until then, to keep them on a very low frequency, on the frequency of fear, to establish a new kind of control over humanity, especially over human consciousness. They want to prevent or misdirect spiritual development. They want to conquer key resources of the world, and for that they're using different things. For example, they're constantly changing the weather and putting poison on us. Many things like that. So when we look at other significant transits of large planets, we see that many cycles will end actually about the same time. So Pluto will leave Capricorn at 24, Neptune will leave Pisces at the year 2025, and Uranus will leave Taurus in the year 2026. So in those 3 years, this cycle will simply end, but we need to arrive to that point. We said what Pluto does. He will destroy completely, or maybe they can transform. We will see what will happen. When Neptune is in Pisces, it can be spiritual renaissance, and people will understand, they will have new connection with God and with the power of universe. This is the better part. But with Neptune in Pisces, it is of course so possible that pharmacomafia make people to believe in false medicine and injection that can save them, because now people are looking for a new religion. And of course, it is very easy to implant the idea that some medical treatment will save people. This is the desire for salvation that is strong. You give them medicine and they're saved. It is also possible, this manipulation, with Neptune in Pisces. And with Uranus in Taurus, of course, we can change our value system, we can change economy, we can change the way how we understand nature and natural resources, but of course, in a negative form, Uranus in Taurus can destroy resources on the earth and also perhaps human body. Everything depends what we are going to do with those energies. Let me remind you that Mircea Eliade said in his works, when genetically modified people start appearing, actually we can say when monsters appear, that's how he says, when monsters again appear, as it was a long time ago at the beginning of the world, this is what mythology says, then when that repeats, then is the end of humanity. So how would genetically modified people appear, you would ask? By giving them that needle. These needles now that they are preparing are able to make this genetic modification and to create monsters on this world. So in order to prevent this, that's what we need to do, is to help this dead civilization to die completely, because it's so degenerated that it cannot give life anymore, and then we will create new life in a new form. And that started actually. Slowly that started. So we mentioned certain years, and let me just compare. I spoke about that Chinese horoscope sees these future years more or less the same. I spoke about that in my video for the year 2020 for Feng Shuiists. This was the year of a metal mouse. If you want, check that video. So I spoke there about that the year 2020 was a metal mouse. 21 is a metal bull, and the energy is very low and it's very dangerous. You know, that these are years where these people have to fight, or those who are on a lower position in the society should fight for their rights, because their rights are suppressed. And then in the year 21 is when it's the water tiger, the first water appears. And in 23, it's a water rabbit, more water. This is good. This is the beginning of life, because water brings life. But only in the year 2024, with the wooden dragon, this is that, wow, like a big beginning and big new start. Of course, Chinese are a little bit afraid of dragon year always, because it can first bring some fight, and then through that the change can come, or it will be simply spring of the world. And then later, after 24, is going to be the 25th year. This is the wooden snake, which is also wood perfect element, and 26, fire horse, like the culmination and the top of everything. So you see, the Chinese calendar sees those years in the same way. So we are in some very, very serious process now. Saturn itself will be in the Aquarius sign from the year 21 to the 23. And fortunately, during the year 21, together with Jupiter, and Jupiter will balance all of the challenges that Saturn brings. About Saturn, I spoke in my video named Saturn in Aquarius, Freedom and Limitations, Pyramids and Networks. So please check that video if you are interested in this topic. Saturn in Aquarius in each transit first throws man onto his knees, in accordance with the subject and with the theme of specific archetype. And now we have the archetype of Aquarius. So what does this archetype represent? It represents people, masses, society, social phenomena, collective in general, social networks, connection of people, cooperation, brother help or fraternal help, if you want. These are subjects of Aquarius. Freedom, this is the subject of Aquarius. So, what is Saturn? Saturn is limitation, seriousness, difficult lessons. Saturn always actually shows the dark side of the certain archetype in its transits, in order to point where the trouble or the problem is. So what is happening when Saturn enters one sign? It happens that people are triggered to understand the trouble they have. And we have a trouble, you know. When Saturn was in Aquarius in April, May and June in the 2020, the shadow side of Aquarius appeared, and people were in lockdown. They were locked down. So lockdown actually symbolically means that we are not free. They're speaking about democracy, but we are not free people, not at all. They are controlling us, and they are controlling us in a horrible way. So this is what Saturn represented perfectly. And now, because we were locked down, now we are going to start thinking about freedom. Do we need a freedom? Which type of a freedom? What to do to reach freedom? What to do to be connected, because we don't want social distance? What to do to be human, and how to help the world, how to help people in the world. This is Saturn lesson, so that's how this energy works. If we do not act properly, Saturn will keep us closed, and they will insist on so-called social distance, and these things will become more norm, and the world will be totally paralyzed. And if you ask them for how long, they can say forever. People will be like mummies, well prepared but closed mummies, and nobody wants that, because mummies can be perfectly prepared, but there is no life in them. So the question is, what do we do and how much time do we have? First, we have time until the year 2023 to do something with the humanity, and the year 2022 will be potentially be very grateful because of the conjunction of Jupiter and Neptune in Pisces. That will be in 2022. This conjunction in Pisces promises fulfillment of all our dreams if we are not, if we do not fall into some illusions. We will talk about that when the time arrives. So we now have 2 or 3 years to wake up and realize the seriousness of the moment, and to realize that this insane pyramid of power is still standing, even if it's completely broken, and it is standing because the base is still there, and the base are us people. So if we reject utopian and technocratic Plutonian ideas, we will win, with or without sacrifices, we will see. And why it is necessary to do that, I explained in many of my videos. Technocracy, Plutocracy, conjunction of Saturn, Jupiter, Pluto. So those videos from previous years. So I do not want to repeat myself. If you are interested, please check those older videos. And now, while I'm shooting this video, it is not yet officially proclaimed the President of America. Although Trump is absolute winner, the votes have been stolen, and the coup attempt is underway. I believe that Trump's people will find the strength to fight, and in that way, if Trump will be the president again, then most probably conflicts in the year 2021 will be concentrated only on American continent, which can further lead into this integration of America, of USA, that can possibly be in the year 2022. And of course, in that case, possible is conflict with China, because deep state is very strong in China. There is another scenario that is also possible. This is if another candidate becomes the President of America, then conflicts will be everywhere in the world. And of course, their goal will be to conquer Russia, because they're obsessed with Russia, of course, for many centuries. Even now we are in the war, which is now happening without using some traditional war. They're not using guns and weapons, but it is unfortunately possible that some weapons will be used in the years to come. We will see. So many things depend not only on them, but also on the conscience of the collective. So how we defeat Saturn? What to do with Saturn? How to use this energy for all of us? So many people think that energy of Saturn is just negative, but that's not the case. Let me tell you please something, and try to understand this. It's very important. The Saturn is within limits which sets as powerful as Jupiter in expansion. Both things are the same powerful. So what to do with that? Well, we need to limit ourselves and concentrate our energy only on one thing. And the thing is to liberate the society of the world, all world, people of this world. And if we know that this is the main goal and we are strong in this, nothing can stop us. And then there is Jupiter in Aquarius, which will help us to achieve our goals, to have the proper knowledge and visions, and to know how to do that. So the year 21 is very rich because Saturn and Jupiter travel together through the sign of Aquarius. So we can have very strong will and we can have very clear goals. And because the reform is needed, and if we want to do the reform of the society, of the world, then we will do it. Because universe helps those who want to do the reform, and the reform should be natural, a normal reform, not the other one. So, but the most important aspect of the year 2021 is the square of Saturn and Uranus. So this current cycle of those two planets started in the year 1988 at the end of Sagittarius, and it had first crisis with the square in 1999, and then another crisis in 2008 and 2009, and now this is the last crisis, which will be in the whole year 21. And maybe we will see now this year what is actually that, what is necessarily to do. As this conjunction starts and ends in Sagittarius and Gemini, it means that communication has to be changed, medias have to change, educational institutions have to change. These are subjects of the eclipses in this year. And we need to communicate among each other in a completely different way. Medias have to change because everything what they did in 2020, they did through medias. This is the subject. But what is the subject of this concrete Saturn-Uranus square in the year 21? You can guess it is the tension between old and new, tradition and progress, values and reforms. This aspect can mean the anarchy or disrespect for the law and disrespect for authority. And this is fantastic because when this happens, people understand that they do not need to respect the law, which does not have anything to do with them, the law which is supporting only those who have money or who are in the government. And this actually can bring sudden changes and liberation. But there is a trouble. There is a trouble with this because Uranus is in a weak position. It is in Taurus. So this cannot be real revolution as it was Russian revolution or French revolution. But of course can be some sort of revolution that is happening on the level of consciousness. And this is actually be the best way for integration of this square. When Uranus was in Taurus in the year 1935 to 1942, that was the very depressive time and the time of a war, not of revolution. I say, yes, it can be some sort of revolution. The best is revolution of consciousness, but we will see, not the typical one. But some people want to use this square, of course, will use this square to make a war, maybe, When we speak about the conscious revolution, if collective works with that properly, then the collective should say, okay, this economic system does not work anymore. Capitalism, this Western type that they are pushing towards the whole world, this capitalism in today's form, it does not work. So let's do the reform. Let's change the banking system, economy system, let's use free energy. That would be a fantastic time to use this square. But who wants to do that? Maybe somebody wants, we will see. But unfortunately, those so-called rulers, they want the war for the reset. Why? Because they're used to that. They create the war, that's the reset, and then they create again old, new order. But now this will not be possible anymore. It is interesting that Uranus actually points on conservative side of the world. So actually we also need some conservative energy, and that conservative energy can be, for example, in policy, be it as Trump's America or Putin's Russia, or there are other parts of the world where conservative forces are quite strong, because they actually are using conservative energy in order to stop those technocrats. So what would be the best way to integrate the square of Uranus and Saturn? Will be conscious revolution, which will later on in the years to come lead into new system, and some sort of conservatism which will prevent that robotization of people. But what will really be, I don't know. I'm just saying what is the best to do. So as soon as the planets are in Aquarius, the question is the axis of Aquarius, Leo, because Leo is opposite to Aquarius. So in order to work well through the Aquarius energy, we need to understand Leo energy. And Leo energy is now the key thing here. This utopia plan that they have is actually working with the negative side of Aquarian archetype. So they want to use modern technology and to make the computer to rule the world. And I don't want to give you all of the examples which I have to prove this. There are many of them. I don't want to make this video too long. But there is a positive side of Aquarian archetype, and this positive side is that female principle is very strong. Many now talk about collective energy, collective feelings, healing in a natural way. People are talking more about natural and universal laws. And if we respect natural and universal laws, we will not accept fake laws that are passed in globalist parliaments. And we talk more and more about alternative science, and astrology has its place in the world. So this is this female principle. So we are now integrating well Aquarian energy and female principle. But opposite to Aquarian energy, it is a male principle. This is this yin-yang. And this male principle is through the sign of Leo. And we now should also integrate this male principle. So what are the qualities of this Leo energy? Well, with this, the question is, what is truly human and what is truly authentic in man and in the collective? Authenticity is associated with creativity further on, and creativity with love. Leo sign is love. The questions that are already arising now are questions of love and hate. And we explained that in the video Technocracy, that according to their utopian visions, we don't need love at all, and actually, according to their plans, there are not going to be children in the world anymore. We don't need children. So how to stop this crazy project? We cannot do anything if we speak with the words of hatred, as they do. If we want to help ourselves and humanity, we need to speak about love. We need to feel love. We need to appreciate ourselves, our children, and everybody in this world. And we need to work on that, to think of that life is the most important thing in us, and to keep the flame of life burn all the time. And we spoke about that in the video for December for the year 2020, how this is how we ended last year. So this year, in the year 2020, they kept people on the lowest feeling, which is the feeling of fear. And in order for us to win, we need to rise our feelings to the highest feeling, which is love. This is the only way to win this. If that you cannot produce just like that, because they're all the time clouds, and terrible news and so on. I don't know what will happen and how they will continue to do this. Well, then in that case, you can meditate and work on chakras and work especially on the fourth chakra, which is the heart chakra. And think about that during the whole year, that only warm human feelings can save the world. So even if there is a hard fight in the year 2021, it should not be because of hate, because you hate or we hate somebody, but it can be because we love life, we love freedom, and we love ourselves. The Leo is also the sign of courage. So we need courage to stop this, what they do. And that's what they do. They want to kill life in a man. So to do that, we need to be very brave. And it would be very, very good if people can go from this fear into the state of mind first, which is screaming. This is according to Chinese philosophy. The lowest feeling is fear. And how you see that you overcome fear? You scream, you say, "Why, I don't want this." And from this screaming, actually, love comes later on. You know, this is like in the books or in the movies when you see that somebody is like somebody's trying to kill somebody, and that the other person wants to protect himself or his family or the village, and then he's afraid, and suddenly he has that strength, and he goes and he fights, and he says, "Wow!" You know, and through that he gets that courage he needs, and he wins. You know, we will arrive to that point as the collective. Just it is, of course, the question when that will be. Are we ready for that in the 2022 or later on in the next year? I also want to mention here that we, every day in our life, we can do something that makes us feel good, you know, instead of watching news. So, you know, you can think of that, how to do nice things for yourself, how to clean water, how to connect with good people, how to take care of the life as it itself, for example, of seeds of the plants. We need all good seeds for the plants, you know. We need many things to do. Even now, even if they are destructive, we should do things to protect everything what we can, you know, by connecting with people who understand the same thing. At the end of this video, I will paraphrase words of Nikola Tesla. In the year 1915, Tesla wrote an article, How Cosmic Forces Affect Our Destinies. Although he saw astrology as confusing, he said that there is a law in the universe, and that this law is connected with absolutely everything we do. And he said there is no one single constellation of stars or nebula that does not affect a human being. He further said that the entire universe is alive and that the sun's heat and light affect all organic and inorganic phenomena. He further adds that whenever activity arises as the result of a force, even a very tiny force, then there is disturbance in the cosmic balance. And I would add to that, that now what is happening with the humanity is enormous force. This was applied on people in order to stop natural decay of the old system. And this strong force is trying to establish something that denies organic life on Earth. So this creates great cosmic disbalance, and of course after every disbalance the balance comes somehow naturally. If we cannot do anything else, there is one thing that we can do. This is we can pay attention on the power of our consciousness. So at the end of this video, I want to say, let it be the light of consciousness and let fire burn in our hearts. So that's all for now, and I wish you very, very happy New Year. I mentioned here many my videos, so all of the videos and everything I do, you will find under this video on YouTube. So there are links on everything, and on my website. Web page is Symbolic Thinking. If you want to order personal consultations with me, you can certainly do it. Just write before you order and check the availability, because usually I I make appointment 1 month in advance. If you like the video, like it, please share it, subscribe to my channel, and I will be very, very grateful for that. So stay well until next time, and I wish you to feel that love is stronger than fear.